This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for November 23rd, 2024. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. Fox's Show of Saints. Fox Nation is preparing to release a new series focusing on the lives of four prominent saints. Saint Sebastian, a steadfast martyr who was executed during the brutal Diocletian persecution, John the Baptist, the forerunner of Jesus Christ, Joan of Arc, the young woman who defied all odds to lead France to victory during one of its darkest periods, and Maximilian Kolbe, a modern hero of faith who sacrificed his life in Auschwitz to save a fellow prisoner. While the premise is certainly intriguing, it is worth approaching such portrayals with caution, especially after witnessing certain productions like The Chosen, which raised concerns for honest viewers. That said, these particular saints have clear historical records, and their stories are deeply rooted in both history and faith. Will Fox Nation handle these accounts respectfully?
Only Poppins would know.
Moving on from networks that are controlled opposition, let us talk about more reliable sources. Alex Jones still thrives. Alex Jones has long served as a sort of canary in the coal mine, warning of dangers others ignored or dismissed. His fiery rhetoric and controversial predictions have made him a polarizing figure, but he undeniably remains influential. Recently, The Onion, a satirical outlet that often plays second fiddle to the genuinely humorous Babylon Bee, purchased Alex Jones's entire studio. The fake news media celebrated the acquisition, gleefully assuming it would be the end of him. However, Alex Jones proved them wrong yet again by getting back on the air almost immediately. The truth is, people trust his track record. For all the controversy surrounding him, his warnings have often hit closer to the mark than his critics would like to admit. That consistency keeps his audience coming back, regardless of attempts to silence him. However, we now know that the sale might not have even been legitimate.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
While The Onion does publish a lot of fake stories that people take seriously, ABC has the same problem but does not label it as satire. Cupcake Gate, the ironically named Whoopi Goldberg from The View, recently sparked a controversy that many are dubbing Cupcake Gate. It all began when a local bakery informed Goldberg that they could not make a specific type of cupcake for her birthday. The reason? Their ovens were temporarily out of service. A perfectly reasonable explanation. Rather than accepting this with grace, Goldberg chose to assume malice. She accused the bakery of targeting her over her political views. Though she claimed she did not intend to call them out directly, Goldberg showcased their logo prominently on the cupcake containers during the limited audience rant. The bakery, a small business already navigating the challenges of its trade, was flooded with hate mail from Goldberg's viewers. However, something unexpected happened. As word of the incident spread, others stepped in to support the bakery. Massive donations poured in, many accompanied with instructions to just give cupcakes to a school or something. This outpouring of kindness served as a counterbalance to the undeserved attacks they faced. Despite this, Goldberg has shown no sign of apologizing, and she likely never will. It is another example of the double standards at play. Remember when President Trump's press secretary was thrown out of a restaurant simply for her job?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
And let us not forget Maxine Waters' infamous call to action.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
The truth is plain and simple. Democrats like Goldberg and Waters can attack businesses or individuals without facing consequences. But when the tables turn, outrage and condemnation follow swiftly. How much more upset will they be if President Trump can drain large parts of the swamp? Government Efficiency Panel. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are joining forces as part of President Trump's proposed Department of Government Efficiency. Ron Paul may also join them. Though not technically a formal government department, this advisory board could be one of the most impactful initiatives in recent memory. The trio's involvement has sparked significant interest. Elon Musk, known for revolutionizing industries and embracing bold reforms, is no stranger to cutting through inefficiency. Vivek Ramaswamy, a business innovator with a focus on disruption, brings his own expertise to the table. And Ron Paul, a staunch advocate for limited government, who has spent decades voicing the need to eliminate waste and overreach. There's no shortage of areas crying out for reform, from bloated federal agencies to redundant programs. Countless corners of the swamp are ripe for the axe. It is time to identify waste, streamline operations, and remove layers of bureaucracy that hinder progress. Throughout this process, one phrase needs to ring out loud and clear.
You're fired. 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 You're fired.
Those two words, already iconic in President Trump's vocabulary, might soon become the rallying cry for this initiative. It is about time we see real accountability. If this advisory board lives up to its potential, it could set a new precedent for government efficiency and fiscal responsibility. However, it is not just about this board. Several key cabinet positions are up for grabs. RFK's appointment. President Trump has been busy making key cabinet nominations, although each still awaits Senate approval. While some of these choices remain cloaked in legal jargon, one name stands out clearly: Robert F. Kennedy Jr. RFK's nomination has already sparked significant controversy. He has been labeled a vaccine denier by mainstream outlets like CNN, ironically funded by Pfizer itself. However, the narrative around his stance is far more nuanced than the headline suggests. Let us not forget the revelations about Flip-Flop Fauci, the man whom many held up as a paragon of public health, but who admitted that his guidance was not grounded in hard science. Instead, he often relied on what felt good, politically or socially at the time.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course. But when you think masks, you should think of healthcare providers needing them and people who are ill.
RFK has been one of the few voices consistently advocating for transparency in the medical establishment. He has called for a return to the scientific method where data and reproducibility, not politics or profits, drive decisions. This kind of leadership could be a breath of fresh air in public health policy. Why are we spending millions on labs that focus on making viruses more deadly?
Only Poppins would know.
This kind of work, often cloaked in the guise of scientific progress, has only heightened global risks. RFK's appointment signals the possibility of real reform in health and science policy. It is a chance to restore accountability, prioritize public safety, and ensure that science serves the people, not political agendas or corporate bottom lines. However, while the fake news might not like his appointments, they are being covered non-stop, intentionally. The cabinet is a smokescreen. The media has been hyper-focused on dissecting President Trump's cabinet appointments. Every pundit and talking head seems intent on speculating who will serve where, diverting public attention away from far more pressing matters. Chief among these is the escalating situation in Ukraine, a conflict in which America has no business being entangled. Despite warnings and rising global tensions, the Biden administration authorized the use of missiles in the region. This reckless decision not only escalates the conflict, but pushes the world closer to an unthinkable brink. Let us be clear about what this means. This was done so that President Trump's job will be harder, and retaliation from Putin is inevitable. Russia will not take such an action lightly, and the fallout, literal and figurative, could be catastrophic. The term nuclear option exists for a reason. It symbolizes decisions that have no path for reversal. Once that line is crossed, there is no coming back. The media's obsession with President Trump's cabinet choices serves as a convenient distraction. It keeps the public preoccupied with debates over appointees, while ignoring the gravity of a situation that threatens global security. We should be paying attention to the decisions being made about war and peace, not just who will sit in the Department of Energy or Interior. It is time for the media to stop playing political games and focus on what truly matters. The stakes could not be higher, and the consequences of inaction or misplaced focus could be disastrous for us all. While this situation is bad, it is not the only global problem. Children are in danger. Iraq is once more pushing for the legalization of child marriage. This time, it would allow grown men to marry girls as young as 9. Such a law is not only deeply troubling, but also indicative of a cult grappling with fundamental moral failures. While America must not involve itself directly in every international issue, this situation stands out as a glaring red flag. Childhood is meant to be a time of growth, learning, and safety, not exploitation and servitude. It is worth recalling that their own so-called prophet married a 9-year-old girl. It is justified by saying that he kept her a virgin for a few years. This is not merely a cultural or legal issue. It goes much deeper than that. We are not dealing with a matter of law or policy alone. At its core, this is a heart issue. Again, it speaks to the condition of a cult that fails to protect its most vulnerable members. The world must call out such actions for what they are: a profound betrayal of innocence and dignity. However, I doubt that the woke left really care about this problem. Not woke enough. Some prominent figures on the left seem to be stepping away from the extremes of wokeness. Take, for instance, socialist darlings like bartender Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Even she has quietly removed pronouns from her social media bios, perhaps realizing how out of touch such performative gestures have become with everyday Americans. Yet, despite these shifts, a faction of the left remains committed to becoming even more woke. This group refuses to acknowledge that their hyper-progressive rhetoric is alienating to most Americans. In fact, some within this crowd are vowing to push their ideology even further. This will mean more divisive identity politics, more absurd policy proposals, and more attacks on anyone who dares to disagree with them. Ironically, the more extreme they become, the less seriously anyone takes them. For those of us watching from the sidelines, this spectacle is welcome. The left's overreach serves as its own undoing, driving moderates and independents toward common-sense alternatives. In the meantime, we will keep our focus on rebuilding and continuing to make America great again. The more they double down, the clearer the choice becomes for the American people. And that, ultimately, is a win for all of us who want a brighter future for this country. Not many of these liberals have seen the light. However, some Texas students may see the light of truth. The Bible in Texas schools. In a recent decision, Texas schools have been granted permission to incorporate portions of the Bible into their curriculum for students from kindergarten through the 5th grade. The vote, which passed with an 8-15 margin, allows select passages to be used in classrooms. Of particular note is that only small portions of the text will be included. Examples of these include the Golden Rule and select sections from Genesis. Even so, the implementation of this option is entirely voluntary for schools. No district is mandated to include it, leaving the decision at the discretion of local educators and administrators. Naturally, this move has stirred opposition, particularly from misotheists who argue that schools are meant to educate, not indoctrinate. Their critique centers on the belief that incorporating religious text crosses a line into imposing faith on young minds. Yet they conveniently ignore the fact that their own ideologies are equally present in classrooms. There is no such thing as a neutral stance when it comes to education. What one calls science, such as evolutionism, is often taught without room for questioning or alternative perspectives. Despite a lack of tangible evidence to support any of its claims, evolutionism is presented as an unassailable truth. In reality, every curriculum brings with it some form of values or worldview. The decision in Texas merely allows for the Bible, one of the most historically significant texts in human history, to share in shaping the character and understanding of students. Although, on the other hand, trusting misotheistic teachers to teach the word is a recipe for disaster. Moving on from scholarly issues to moral issues, one thing that woke liberals cannot do is understand basic biology. Capital bathroom ban. Representative McBride is set to join the U.S. House of Representatives this January. However, controversy has already arisen surrounding bathroom access in the Capitol. This individual may be prohibited from entering the women's bathroom, thanks in large part to the efforts led by Representative Nancy Mace. Mace's stance reflects a growing concern about safety and privacy of women in spaces designated for them. The fundamental question is simple. Why would we make it easier for predatory men to access women's restrooms? This concern is not hypothetical. In numerous instances across the country, men have exploited similar policies, leading to tragic and avoidable outcomes. As this debate continues to unfold, it is worth remembering that safeguarding vulnerable populations, especially women and girls, should remain a priority. However, I really do not care if this person feels offended. People are leaving so much of the woke left behind that MSDNC may shut down. MSDNC shutting down. It appears that the woke left is losing its grip on the public. And nowhere is this more evident than MSDNC, which is on the brink of shutting down. Once a bastion for liberal fear-mongering and Trump bashing, the network is now seeing people abandon it in droves. Their scare tactics and blatant lies about President Trump have backfired spectacularly. The more they tried to demonize him, the more people saw through their facade. They especially despise the fact that Trump supporters, both in professional and non-professional settings, are celebrating with the iconic Trump dance in the end zone. It is a cultural moment that underscores their complete disconnect from everyday Americans. To these so-called journalists, I have a simple message.
Hey, so long, see you sucker, bon voyage, arrivederci, later loser, goodbye, good riddance, peace out, let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you, don't come back round here no more, hasta la vista, kick rocks, and get the hell out.
The demise of MSDNC is a sign of the times. The American people are waking up to the lies and manipulation, and they are choosing to tune out for good. Now I want to start ending these videos with good news. And boy, do I have some good news for everyone in Texas and around the country. Foreign landowners kicked out. Texas Representative David Spiller has taken a bold step to protect American sovereignty with the introduction of House Bills 191 and 243. These bills tackle the growing concern of foreign governments owning land in Texas. As with the border crisis, this is an issue that will inevitably spread to the rest of the country if left unchecked. We already know, for instance, that China has established a military base in California. Additionally, many of the individuals crossing the southern border are military-aged men, noticeably without women or children accompanying them. This is no coincidence and should serve as a red flag for everyone paying attention. Under HB 191, countries like Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China would no longer be allowed to own land in Texas. Meanwhile, HB 243 empowers the Attorney General to take direct action against any violations of this law. Both bills serve as critical measures to curb foreign influence and ensure that American land remains under American control. To these foreign landowners and their enablers, I again say,
hey, so long, see you sucker, bon voyage, arrivederci, later loser, goodbye, good riddance, peace out, let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you, don't come back round here no more, hasta la vista, kick rocks, and get the hell out.
By addressing this issue head-on, Texas is once again leading the charge for national security and setting an example for the rest of the country to follow. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. But before you go, on the left I have last week's video, but you may also enjoy the video on the right.